Hello, sewing people of the internet. Recently, I made this running waist pack I wear when I'm running on longer runs. And what was different about this waist pack from ones that I've made in the past is that it has two layers. So it has a pocket in the back for my phone and then a pocket in the front to hold just random other stuff that I carry. So I got a couple of questions about it because I made a video about this pack, but I did not do a video about the actual construction of it. There seemed to be sufficient interest that I'm going to make another one of these packs and show you how to make it. As usual, I can't just jump right into the project. I do want to point out, if you've watched my videos in the past, you have probably noticed that I am not one of these people who has a pristine studio that I film in that's perfectly neat. I'm kind of a slob and I have stuff everywhere. But it's actually even worse than normal right now, and the reason for that is I'm in the middle of a big renovation of my space, so storage that was hiding a lot of my crap is not there anymore. So if you see a bunch of crap piled up on a table more so than normal, I'm sorry about that. Anyway, let's zoom in and I'll show you how to put this thing together. First, I'll show you all of the component pieces. I'm going to use a plastic buckle just because that's the only 1.5" buckle I have. I like to use 1.5" webbing for these running packs because it just is more comfortable and maybe more secure than a 1". Maybe not secure, but it just seems to ride better for me. But you could use 1" webbing if you didn't have this. The webbing I'm using is just some surplus military webbing I bought when I bought a bunch of stuff at an army surplus store recently. Again, I really didn't have any other 1.5" webbing, and I don't want to order stuff. I'm trying to make this out of stuff I already have on hand. So, but just regular plastic side release buckle. Interestingly, maybe this is helpful to you. Side release buckles often come in one of two ways. They can be single adjust, so one side is just a fixed loop, and the other side is where you make your adjustments by pulling the webbing through. Or they can be double adjustable, so they can adjust on both sides. Double adjustable is nice for something like a backpack waist strap, so you can have the buckle centered on your waist, and you can pull tension on both sides to get it centered. In this case, I'm going to treat this as a single adjust. I'm just going to put the webbing around the adjuster as if it was just one piece, and this side will be fixed. But I'll try to remember to show you that later. But I bring it up because if you are like me and you're ever trying to make something out of parts you have on hand, if you have a double adjustable buckle, you can just make it a single adjustable buckle by not threading through the adjustment part. So for the components, I have the front panel, and then the panel that will separate the front pocket from the back pocket, the back panel, and I've got some spacer mesh on the back. The fabric I'm using is X-Pac V21 RS. This one is a custom print from a painting that I did, and I've got just some black that's going to be on the inside. For the gussets, where the zippers will be, I'm using some X-Pac VX21. It's also a custom print from a Dutch pour painting I did. And then the wings are VX21. That's just a standard print. I forget which camo this is. It's one of the camo patterns that you can get from Ripstop by the Roll. It's just some stuff that I had on hand. So. Because I didn't have anything smaller, I'm using number 10 AquaGuard YKK zipper. It's a bit big and clunky and heavy for a pack of this size, but I definitely wanted it to be water resistant. So rather than order some number 8, which is what I'd normally use, I'm just going to use the number 10. Probably don't recommend this. Maybe I'll feel differently after I put it together, but right now I've got 2 zipper sliders on here, but I actually don't need that, so I'm going to take 2 of them off. So that's the components for this bag. One difference I'm going to do on this one, on the orange bag, I added these loops, these shock cord loops on the corners to allow me to attach a race bib for when I'm running a race. And that's really, really good when I'm running a race. It's a fantastic way for me to carry my bib. I'm very happy with it. I've run one race with it, and then I've run several long runs without it. I wouldn't say they get in the way. I don't really notice them very much, but I thought, well, since I'm going to make another one, I'm going to make one without the loops so that when I'm not running in a race, I don't have to have these, potentially getting hung up on anything or in the way. So if you only wanted one of these, if you ever run races with a race bib, I would recommend trying something like this. But in this one, I'm not going to bother with it. I've recently been using a Singer heavy-duty domestic machine for a lot of my projects. But today I'm going to use my Conso 206 RV1 industrial walking foot sewing machine. Wouldn't say it's really necessary for this project, but I enjoy using it. It makes the work go faster, so that's what I'm going to use. No idea what needle size is in here right now, and I'm using V69 thread. The first thing I'm going to do is sew what I call wings. I don't know if there's a real name for these things that extend out from the pack body. It's where the strap attaches. Just makes it a little bit more comfortable of a ride. So I'm just going to sew around the three sides that do not attach to the pack, and then the side that gets sewn into the seam on the pack will get closed when I sew it in. And I'm going to use something like 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. And then these just get turned out. By the way, you should probably not do this with scissors. There's plenty of other tools one can use to turn something out, but these are the closest thing to hand, so that's what I'm doing. Someone's going to ask, I do not have a pattern for this. I just kind of, guessed at the size and shape of this. I don't think it really matters that much. You may have to experiment and find what makes a comfortable wing for you, but it's kind of this shape and size. You should be able to kind of figure it out. For the main pieces that make up the bag, they're cut to 6 inches high, 10 inches wide. I just rounded off the corners with a thread spool, but any rounded object should be fine. And then they'll end up being, the bag will be about 5 inches high by 9 inches wide. Now, just to give them a neater appearance, I'm going to top stitch around the perimeter of these. So now I'm going to prepare the gussets. I cut these a little bit too long, so what I'm going to do is attach each of them to one end of each of the zippers with just a simple fold over, and then when I sew it to the panels, I'll get close and then figure out how long it needs to be and cut it to the right length. I do want to point out, in another pack I might be a little bit more concerned about concealing all the raw edges, so I might do something like, some complicated fold that hides the raw edges of this fabric and hides the raw edge of the zipper, or some other way of concealing it. None of these fabrics are known to fray particularly badly, so I'm not going to worry about it on this pack. Just know that depending on what kind of pack you're making and what materials you're using, you might need to do a little bit more than what I'm doing here to conceal the raw edges. Next, I want to attach the wings to the back panel, which is made up of this spacer mesh and one of the pieces of V21 RS fabric. And I basically just eyeball these kind of at the top of this straight cut before it starts to round off at the top. Okay, so now it's time to sew the first gusset to the back panel. We're going to do this right sides together. I'm going to kind of center the zipper more or less on the top. When I made this pack, I didn't get the zippers perfectly aligned with one another, and I'm actually not sure if I'm going to try to get them lined up. This worked out kind of well because the zipper sliders aren't right next to each other, so there might be an actual advantage to having it not quite perfectly aligned. I don't know. I'll see how it comes out. I'm not going to sweat about it too much. If you know that you want your zippers to land in a particular place, though, this would be the time to figure out where you want them to be and, you know, make marks or pin things or whatever you need to do to have it land there. So I've got my zipper pinned pretty much centered on the panel, and I'm going to start sewing not quite at the end of the zipper, go around, and when I get close to this end, I'll stop and figure out the length and attaching it to the other end of the zipper when I get there. That should give me enough room to maneuver to get this cut and attached to the zipper, and then I'll finish the seam. And I did that completely wrong. Alright, so I don't know how much of that I'll leave in, but I'll leave in enough to let it be known that I did that wrong. And, you know, sometimes it's good to know that, I don't know, that I can be overconfident. So I had this somehow on this face. It should have been on this face, so now I got to take it all off and do it again. So, yeah, maybe you shouldn't be listening to me. Okay, I forgot to hit record, but what I did was just got this gusset piece positioned where I wanted it on the zipper, folded it under, and sewed it down. And now I can sew this piece down. And if I've done it right, I shouldn't have too many wrinkles. I might have a little bit, but I'm not going to sweat it too much. A stretchier fabric would be helpful in minimizing the appearance of wrinkles. This stuff kind of wrinkles anyway, so. Yeah, turned out pretty good. So the next part is what makes this a multi-layer pack. Probably should have mentioned this earlier, but if you have no interest in making a waist pack like this is how you would make a multiple layered backpack or, you know, briefcase, pretty much any kind of bag. This is a way you could accomplish that. So I need one of the black panels. It really doesn't matter which way this panel faces. This particular fabric is black on the right side and white on the wrong side. So I could just decide which way I want there to be a white face. Since I'm going to have white on this side, then I think I'm going to have the black facing inside since there's already white on the inside of that pocket, so I'll have plenty of visibility. And then this will have white and white. Really, though, it could go either way depending on what fabric you're using. It may not matter. But so if I want the black to face this way, let me think, like this. So I'm going to attach this panel and this gusset at the same time. One other thing I want to think about right now, on this other pack, I have the zippers running in opposite directions, so as I'm wearing it, if I'm pulling a zipper to the right to open it, that's the phone pocket, and if I'm pulling it to the left to open it, that's the other pocket. It just helps me easily differentiate which pocket I'm going into, rather than having both zippers closed in one direction, and I can maybe open the wrong pocket more easily. So I want to do the same thing here. So this one is closing to the left, so I want to have this one closing to the right. That way, yep. So this is going to go here, and then this is going to go. Okay, so I made a couple of missteps because I forgot how I'm supposed to do this, but I want to have that facing in, and then the zipper is going to go right side to right side with the other zipper, and I'll sew all this around, and then that'll turn out this way, and then I can sew the face on. I'll show you when it's all clipped together. Okay, I'm not going to clip all the way around. I've just clipped the zipper on, and I've lined up the zipper ends, so hopefully they'll match up pretty closely. And now I'm just going to sew all the way around, and then this will be able to turn out for the next process. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, that was hard, mostly because the big giant zippers that I'm using just kind of make it a little bit more complicated. It's not perfect, but it's not perfect in a way that won't be noticed. So that pocket is on. So now you can kind of see we've got the back pocket is complete other than binding the seams, and now we have the gusset for the front pocket on, and the only thing that we need to do now is sew the front panel on, and to do that, we need to turn this inside out. And sew this right sides to right sides. Just trying to figure out which way I want this to go. I think I want that to be up. Okay, so I've got the front panel sewed on. I went ahead and turned it out, and I still have to bind the seams, and I'll show you that and we'll talk about it, but unless you have a machine like I do, good luck. Depending on your material choice, what kind of binding you're using, and how satisfied you're going to be with imperfect binding. There are other ways to do this, but I'm just telling you the way I'm doing it. If you've watched any of my other bag making videos in the last couple of years, you'll know I have a dedicated binding machine. But I just wanted to put that out up front. Like, if you're thinking about making a project like this, you'll have to really consider how you want to bind it and how willing you are to have it be difficult to do. You could clip binding on of some kind, grosgrain or something, and sew it on, but it's going to be difficult. That's basically my point. Like, some of this was challenging already, but that part's going to be really hard without that machine. So, but I do want to address another elephant in the room. Some of you might have already noticed this, but usually what I do when I make something like this is I put the webbing on and sew it into the main seam with these wings. So it's attached in the main seam and then attached on the end. That's the right way to do this, I think. I don't know that it's the only way to do it, but the reason I'm doing it differently this time is I just forgot because I was too distracted making a video. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sew it on, top stitch it to the wing. I'll fold the edge under and try to make it look nice. It's going to be fine. This is holding a phone and a pocket knife and like a credit card and some toilet paper. So it's not under a great deal of stress, but if you're making something like this, I'd put it on before now. So, all right, over to the binder. So I'm going to let the binding process play more or less uncut. I cut out a couple of small pieces, but I just wanted you to be able to see more or less in real time how this process goes. And just note that I'm doing this pretty slowly, and
even doing it slowly, it's way faster and way easier than if I were having to manually clip binding on and then sewing it on a flatbed machine would be a real challenge. So just food for thought. I used my Sailrite LSZ1 to do the bar tacks to attach the webbing to the wings.
So that's a pack. Alright, so hopefully that was helpful if you're thinking about making any kind of a bag that has multiple layers. If it wasn't clear in the video, I don't know how it's going to come out after I edit it. I had to scratch my head a lot trying to remember how to do this. I think the previous pack was the first time I've done this method of adding layers. And I think I just got lucky last time and got it right the first time. So, but it's not that big of a deal. Be prepared to make some mistakes and maybe practice on cheap fabric. Speaking of fabric, I'm actually kind of digging this mishmash of different patterns. I don't know. Some people like this stuff, some don't. I do. So that's pretty cool. Got to go for a long run tomorrow, so maybe I'll cut in some footage of actually using it, but I don't expect it to be any different from the other one that I made that's just like it. If you're thinking about a pack like this for running, I know not many of my viewers are into the running thing, but part of the reason I'm using these materials is to try to keep my stuff, especially my phone, dry. Even somebody pointed out in the comment recently that my phone technically is waterproof, but even if it's waterproof and won't be damaged by water, when it gets wet, I can't get it to do anything. This fabric is quite water resistant, and it has been quite good at keeping my phone dry. My phone gets wet from me handling it more than it gets wet in the pack. So I keep just a rag in there to wipe it off with, and that's usually pretty good. So anyway, these fabrics have been working out good for me if you're looking to carry something and keep it dry under reasonable conditions. This X-Pack material has been working quite well for me. Okay, I hope you found that. This could also be a tambourine. Okay, I hope you found something about this useful or informative or entertaining or something. If you like this video, clicking like is always a nice thing to do. If you're not already a subscriber, I would love it if you'd consider subscribing to my channel. You can check out the links in the description. Some of those are affiliate links. So if you buy stuff through those links, I get a little kickback at no expense to you, and that helps me fund future video projects. If you have questions or comments, post them in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. So I forgot to shoot any real B-roll, but I just finished up a 11-ish mile run with this. While I'm thinking about it, I just wanted to talk about it real quick. I said during the video of making this pack that I didn't think I was gonna like these big zippers. I might use these more. Like they're just easy to unzip, more so than the number 8 for some reason. I don't really know why, but I may experiment with them more. But so I guess if you're thinking about something like this, I don't know, maybe grab a little bit of number 10 and see if you like it. But other than that, the pack worked exactly as I expected it to. It's the same as the other pack. I just basically didn't notice that I was wearing it. The one thing I did notice at one point is it was not as jingly as I thought it was going to be. These zipper sliders are really jingly as I'm moving this around, but running for some reason it really wasn't noticeable. So anyway, it's a good pack. I like it. Hopefully if you have a need for something like this, then now you know a little bit more about how to make it. Thanks for watching.